These days, it seems like the big trend for gaming mice is to make them as light as possible. The idea being that the lighter the mouse is, the better chance you have at performing better because you're less fatigued and you're just faster at moving the mouse, I guess. And one of the ways that a lot of companies have approached making their mice lighter is by putting holes in them. Popular mice like the glorious Model O, Model O-, D, and D-, etc., Finalmouse, all kinds of other mice that have come out since then, they all have holes in them to achieve a lighter weight. And then Razer came along with the Razer Viper series, which managed to pull off ultralight mice without any holes, and they're probably some of the best light mice out there, and some of the best mice Razer has put out in a long time. These mice range anywhere from $50 to $150, or even more if you're looking to purchase a Finalmouse, which tend to just sell out and then be resold for a lot more than they're probably worth. And then comes along Redragon with their M808 Storm. That's right, I'm partnering with Redragon once again to bring you a review. This video is not sponsored, they just provided this for review to tell you guys, in all fairness, what I think of this mouse. And boy, do I have some thoughts about this mouse. The Storm M808 does have a full spectrum of RGB colors available on the side strips and the scroll wheel that can also be programmed and customized via the software. It's equipped with a PixArt 3327 optical sensor, which I still don't know a whole lot about what makes a good sensor or not, but from what I've read in my research, it's not one of the best optical sensors from PixArt out there, but it's definitely not one of the worst. And as far as my experience with it, I will get to that in just a moment. It has 10 programmable buttons, 5 profiles that you can switch between and program via the software. This mouse retails for $39.99. As of filming this video, it's $36.99 on Amazon, so it's still at least $10 cheaper than the glorious Model O-, for example. As far as the sensor, there's no kind of like weird lift-off distance problems like I've had in the past with some other budget mice. For somebody like myself who's not a hardcore competitive gamer but does play first-person shooters with multiplayer like Overwatch, Warzone, and Destiny 2, I was able to use it and didn't really notice any problems or anything that might hinder you from using this mouse. Again, I'm no expert, I'm no professional when it comes to these things. I'm just experimenting with these different mice and keyboards that get sent to me, so I'm learning as I go. And as I've used and tested this thing for well over a month now, I've used it pretty regularly in my gaming and have not had really any issues. The DPI can go all the way up to 12,400, which is insane and completely unnecessary, at least in my opinion. You are most likely never going to use that high DPI, but that's gaming mice these days. High DPI is better. This is a right-handed ergonomic design mouse, sort of more similar shape to the Model D, if that's your comparison there. I don't personally prefer the shape. I've come to really enjoy ambidextrous shaped mice for my grip when it comes to aiming, but it's not terrible. It's probably more comfortable if it's your only mouse that you're going to use for web browsing and gaming, then it's probably a better shape. For an ergonomic mouse, the shape is alright. Nothing to write home about, nothing to really whine about either. If there is one thing on it I don't like, it is the sides. The sides are textured to give you a nice grip, which is nice. I just don't like that they chose a glossy plastic for the grippy sides. The RGB looks clean and clear and crisp and colorful and bright, and the customization in the software is perfectly adequate to do what you want it to do. Now, the thing about this mouse that has absolutely surprised and kind of blown me away is the cable. A lot of ultralight mice have what you would call, I guess, sort of a paracord sort of design. They have looser cables that are made so that they're not as tight and stiff as a lot of mice out there. If you're looking for a mouse with a stock cable that will be better than the glorious mouse, this one's pretty impressive, and for at least $10 less than the glorious mouse, I'd say if the cable is a big selling point for you, definitely check this one out. The clicks are fairly crispy, they're not heavy or stiff, they're not the crispiest clicks, but they are satisfactory, and the scroll wheel feels quality as well. Now I'm just going to be straight out and straightforward with you on this mouse. One of the big selling points is the honeycomb design, because like I said, the main reason a company would want to make a honeycomb design mouse is to reduce the weight as much as possible for those who want an ultralight mouse. Well, I'm sorry to say, this mouse, despite the honeycomb design, is really not ultralight. It's confusing because there is the honeycomb design. I can see into the mouse, I can see through the mouse through the holes, and it does reduce the weight at least a little bit, I imagine, but it still manages to weigh in at what I can only call a whopping 89 grams. That may not sound like a lot if you're not really familiar with the world of ultralight mice, and in the grand spectrum of gaming mice, 89 grams is not bad. I mean, the Logitech G Pro Wireless is praised to this day for its 80 gram weight, but it's also a wireless mouse. To achieve wireless capabilities, it has to have more stuff inside the mouse, and so for it to still be only 80 grams with the wireless technology is what makes it so impressive, at least one of the things. So for this thing to be wired, have the holes and honeycomb design, and still be 9 grams more than that is confusing and just baffling to me. What's even weirder is you can see holes carved and etched into the mouse that aren't actual holes. The honeycombs are there, but you can see plastic through it. It's like they carved the shape of the honeycomb without going all the way through. Just do the whole thing. Just put the hole in there. The whole hole. Now, that's not to say this is a bad mouse. This is actually a mouse that I'm quite impressed with, but I do want to just be very clear about the main selling point with the honeycomb design. It just sort of seems off, like it's just not correct. To put things into perspective, while this weighs 89 grams, mice like the glorious Model O, O-, D, and D- all weigh between around 58 to 67 grams. That's around a 20 to 30 gram difference in the weight of these mice. The Coolermaster MM710 weighs 53 grams, so we're talking a 36 gram difference between the two mice. Now, that may not seem like a lot, and ultimately, realistically, it's not that big a difference. It's still a mouse. It's not like you're gonna feel like you're lifting a weight by holding this thing, but if you've ever held a lighter mouse like I have with my Model O-, you can feel the difference. Like when I first got my Model O- and I picked it up, I was like, wow, that is really light. If you look at r/mouse review on Reddit, you will see that there are people on there who will just go through all kinds of lengths and measures to reduce the weight of their mouse. There are people who take mice that are already fairly light and try to make them lighter by either removing components, removing shells, making holes in shells, 3D printing custom honeycomb shells. The Logitech G305 is a fairly light wireless mouse that people will actually go and buy a different kind of battery or buy a smaller battery with an adapter or even a piece of foil in there just to make it a few grams lighter. To some people, every gram makes a difference, and so for such a large difference, that's kind of drastic. Now again, this is not really a complaint. This is not really something that I really mind or care about. It's just something I want to make you aware of in case you are looking at this mouse as an option for an ultralight mouse. It's not like they're trying to be deceptive or anything. The weight is right there. It's one of the first things you'll see in the specs anywhere you can buy the mouse. It is still fairly light. It is still at least under 100 grams. And that's kind of all I have to say about this mouse. Again, I'm no professional. I don't know absolutely everything I'm talking about when it comes to mice especially. Still learning here, but from my experience, what I've seen on other videos about other mice and read online and whatnot, I can tell you that this mouse is actually one of the best budget mice I have used. If you can move past the fact that this has a honeycomb design but isn't as light as a lot of the ultralight mice are out there these days, I definitely say for the price, this thing is worth checking out. If you are interested in checking it out, I'll have a couple links in the description from Redragon and an affiliate link from Amazon, as well as a link to the software so you can download that if you have the mouse or decide to purchase it. Now, I have to get going. It's getting real hot in here, and this is like my second video I've filmed today. It's getting spicy. It's like 90 degrees today. If you like this video, you can check out this mouse review. It was the first one I've ever done, and you can see maybe how far I've come since then. And you can check out something totally different like this gaming-related video here. Thank you for watching. Peace out.